All right, so real quick review. We're going to go through this Biomes notebook slideshow. I'm sorry, the Biome slideshow. And you guys can respond in this review. What biome would you say this is? Savanna. Yes, it's a grassland, specifically Savanna. Why do you think that? What tells you that? Yeah, the primary vegetation is grass. There's few groups of trees. Now, obviously, the elephant helps as well, right? All right, what is this? Okay, now this could be a temperate deciduous forest, but most likely, if I had to bet, I would say tropical rainforest. Why did you think tropical rainforest? Okay, there's a bunch of trees, definitely a forest of some sort. Do you notice that there's plants all the way up the tree? Like the tree, even the bark of the tree has other plants growing on it. There's also seems to be plentiful water, the rainforest. Yeah, so I would say tropical rainforest is the best guess. What is this? We haven't talked about it. What is this? The desert. What tells you it's the desert? So if there's sand in my backyard, I live in a desert. What tells you this is a desert? There's you see almost only sand, and it doesn't look like there's a whole lot of what?
Water.
Yeah, water. Yeah, so there's no vegetation, so there's no animals. Yes, all those things. Also, you can tell wind. Can you tell that in the lines? That's what these lines are from. It's from wind. So the thing that forms this, a really important abiotic factor for this is going to be the wind. All right, what about this? So we've not talked about this. What is this one?
Tundra.
This would be the tundra, not the taiga, because there's no trees, right? This is the tundra. We'll talk about that today, about why. Does anybody know why there are no trees?
Because of the permafrost.
Because of the permafrost. Y'all know what? Think of it. And we've not talked about what two words do you think that comes from?
Ice.
Permafrost. What two words is that a mixture of?
Frost and
Frost and perma. Is perma a word?
What's that word? Permanent.
Permanent. Yes, permanent frost. Permanently frozen. All right, we'll talk about it. What two words, there's one in particular that comes to my mind, should come to mind when you look at this picture? Definitely forest. Besides forest.
Trees.
Yes, that means the same thing as forest. Huh?
Season.
Season. So what word tells you about seasons? It has a mild climate. Temperate. What tells you that the leaves drop? Deciduous. Parker. Yes. Deciduous. Good job. All right. A biome is an ecosystem that has a bunch of similar climates, vegetations, and animals. So because it has similar climates, if you think about the grasslands, you can have grasslands in Africa and North America. They have different vegetation and animals, but they are similar. And that's because they have a similar climate. They have similar abiotic factors. Even though the savanna has it has a huge amount of rainfall during one part of the year and very little the other part of the year, that the fact that it doesn't have a ton of water to supply year round for the plants means that it's not going to have a ton of trees. So it's similar climate. It's not exactly the same, but similar. Abiotic factor. What is this abiotic factor? Top right. Precipitation. What's the bottom left? Temperature. Those are easy ones. What is this one? Latitude, not longitude, but latitude specifically in that we discussed. And what is this one? The most difficult. Elevation. What's another word for elevation? Comes from the word tall in Latin or Spanish or whatever. Alto. Alto means tall. So what is this? Altitude. Yeah. So elevation or altitude. And the two most important ones. Precipitation and temperature. Right, and again, we'll see this, we'll talk about this a little bit today. But you have forest, grassland, desert. 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 No, I'm sorry. Forest, grassland, desert. Forest, grassland, desert. Forest, straight to desert, so that's an exception. Forest, grassland, desert. Forest, grassland, desert. Forest, grassland, desert. Y'all see a pattern?
Yes.
Grasslands are almost always found between forests and desert because the reason it's a grassland is because it doesn't have enough rainfall to supply trees, but it does have enough rainfall to provide for small plants like grasses. All right, temperate deciduous forest. Forest tells you what?
Trees.
There's a bunch of trees. Deciduous tells you that they fall off, which means that there are what? There's a variety of temperatures, but it's not super extreme. There's a slow change throughout the year, 4 different seasons. Here's some animals. For examples, these should all be pretty familiar to us. Tropical rainforest. What does the word forest tell you? Trees. What's this word tell you?
Rain.
Yes, no, that is the word. What does it tell you?
Lots of rain.
Yes, if it's named rainforest, there's probably a lot of rain, a lot of precipitation, a lot of water falls in this area. Water is plentiful. What does tropical tell you? It's near the equator. Near the equator. All right. What does this picture show you? There's a bunch of plants. I mean, there could be, and I've not sat down and tried to count, but there's probably 10 different plants that we can see just here in the beginning, in the front, and it's a very close-up picture. What does it show you about sunlight? Very little sunlight gets to the bottom because of all the trees at the top. What is that word that we used? The tops of the trees? The canopy. Yep. There's a whole lot of biodiversity. And I mentioned last period, if you in your body you have a bunch of bacteria. You have a bunch of bacteria in your gut, in your small intestine. We talked about this. What happens when you take antibiotics? You know why we take antibiotics? Yeah, to fight the harmful bacteria. But what happens when we take antibiotics? It also does what? It hurts some of the beneficial bacteria. So just like I used the example last period, if you have a spider in your room, do you go like just burn your whole house down? No. What do? Or maybe you kill the spider. Maybe you just get a cup and you save the spider and send it outside where you want it to be. But let's just say you had like hundreds of spiders in your room. Maybe you take a flamethrower to your room, but then you get a fire extinguisher and you extinguish the fire. Is it going to do damage to your house?
Yes.
Yes. Is it less damage than burning the whole house down?
Yes.
Yes. So I'm not saying you need to take a flamethrower to your house or light your house on fire. What I am saying is that when we have a problem with one type of bacteria, sometimes the best answer is antibiotics. Sometimes it's not. So the more we just hand out antibiotics like candy, the stronger the bacteria become and the worse our immune system, because the more good beneficial bacteria we have in our gut, the better off we are. The better off we are in fighting bad bacteria, the better off we are as a human. There's some research that shows that if you have certain bacteria in your gut, you are a happier person. It gives off things that are kind of like endorphins, which is what makes us feel good when we laugh. Like there's a lot of benefits to having good gut bacteria. So we talked about biodiversity, diversity of life. So having a good biodiversity, a good diversity of life in your gut is really good. In your small intestines is really good. Canopy is the top. We talked about that. Little light reaches the bottom, and it has a huge amount of what? Rainfall. It's found in the tropics. Here's some examples. Got the taiga. What kind of trees? Conifers. They're evergreens. Conifers have what kind of fruit? Cones. They have some kind of cone, like your Christmas tree or like a pine cone. And they say green all year round because they are bad trees. They can say this is the coldest biome. Is that true? No. It's the coldest what? It's the coldest forest biome, yes. All right, grasslands. We're not going to watch the grassland song, but you could watch the grassland song if you wanted to. Look at the grasslands. It's a very addictive. Can y'all hear it in your head? No? Okay, we'll watch it in just a second. Grass is the main vegetation. They're found between forests and deserts. A bunch of different names for them, and they're on just about every continent except for Antarctica. Yep. You have two different types of a bunch of herbivores. Grasslands. This is temperate grasslands. This is what we have in North America. We have the Savanna. Has huge amounts of rainfall in one part of the year and then none for the rest of the part of the year. So it can't support trees. Like Rafiki has the trees that it can't support are normally good at holding water. There's some examples. Savanna's at the top, temperate grasslands at the bottom. And today we're going to talk about deserts.